It only feels like a few weeks since our last update of the short wheelbase where we revealed that eventually and finally we decided to go back to the absolutely correct and original red exterior colour. And the guys have been working tirelessly to assemble the car, and it's made so much progress very quickly as a result of how much work's gone into the parts and the components being restored whilst the metalwork was being done and the paintwork was being done. So we see it here today, just about ready to go to the trim shop, and we're going to follow up with a visit to Rourke where we talk through the choice of interior and the way in which we have to go to extreme lengths to make sure that the detail is absolutely correct, so that the car throughout is as it would have been when it left the factory. But just before we do that, a quick little look around the car. So the rear screen is back in. This is the original rear screen, which actually had some acid etching identifiers, which are very typical of the 70s, where people used to etch in the chassis number or the reg number, so it had the reg number etched in. We've managed to have that professionally polished out so that you don't see that, retaining the original Securite markings here, which is upside down, funnily enough, but in the corner of the screen. So we've got the original rear screen back in the car. The fuel tank's in, the outside fuel filler, all the lights are fitted up. We've had the bumpers back from the chromas for the second time, so we've just sent them back for some final detail work. There was a few ripples that we weren't quite happy with, but they've really come out magnificently, especially this rear bumper, which is one piece, which is very, very difficult across that huge length to not have any sort of waves or ripples, but we're very, very pleased with the way that's turned out. In terms of the interior, the headlining's been put in. Rourke came up to us to do that here at DK, and the dash has been fitted. We've fitted the gauges that have all been overhauled. And one of the really nice features of this car, again, hinting towards its extreme originality, was that on all of the wiring loom and all of the wires, which were in incredibly good condition and good enough to reuse, we found the original Pirelli markings, which is something that we see so rarely these days because these cars have quite often had new looms during their life. So we've gone to every possible length to retain that loom whilst making sure that it's of an adequate quality and standard to serve this car for the next 30 years or more. But as we look inside also, we see that we've got the gearbox fitted, the rear axle, the brakes, prop shafts in place, and then of course the engine in the engine bay. We're yet to fit the tops of the carburetors and the open air tray. We're waiting for the exhaust in terms of when it comes back from the trim shop. We will tailor make it to this car so it fits perfectly. It's not something we buy off the shelf. It's supplied to us in component form so that we can fabricate and create the exhaust to fit the car perfectly. But as you can see, everything else is in the engine bay, ready to have its final assembly when back from the trim shop, inserting the inner arches, inserting all the final details, the manifold, heat shields, etc. So really exciting time. Can't wait to show you it when it's finished with its trim. And again, I'm just so much closer to that final road test and shakedown, which is always the best and most rewarding point of the restoration. And we are a matter of weeks away from it. So join us again for our visit with Rourke and for the subsequent road test and finalisation of the restoration.